right, welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for coming tonight. This is our Career Expo prep session, tips and strategies, as we prepare for this recruiting season, particularly the Huntsman Career Expo, which is happening this Friday. So we're looking forward to that. Again, that event is in Perry Pavilion from 10 to 1 on Friday. My name is Mary Beth Barnes, and I'm a career specialist here in the Huntsman School. And in my role, I work in the Career Development Office to help students at all phases of the career strategy and recruitment process to help you from resume to attaining internships and employment. So our offices are in EBB 309, and you could schedule appointments online if you want to meet with us. So I'll go ahead and introduce you to Liz McCloud. And Liz is from Ferguson, and she will be delivering the session today.
Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Have all of you taken advantage of the Career Center? Yeah, have you? Good. Awesome. That's fantastic. Definitely one of those places where you will never have another time in your life where somebody is so devoted to helping you find a job and kind of take that next step after your career. So take it from people that are now out of school. That is definitely an opportunity you should be taking advantage of. So as Mary Beth mentioned, my name is Liz McCloud, and I actually work for a company called Ferguson. Have any of you heard of Ferguson by chance? Usually nobody. You have, kind of? Okay, so she actually mentioned I spoke in a class last semester for her as well. That's fantastic. So do you remember anything about the company Ferguson?
You had a rubber ducky.
I did have rubber duckies. You're correct. We did have rubber duckies that look something like this. Do you want another rubber ducky? Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, so the reason I like to bring up the fact that I work for a company called Ferguson is because, to be very honest, recruiters from different companies are going to bring different career search tips and tricks. So I think it's important for you to keep in mind information may vary just a little bit amongst employers and industries, but for the most part, how to work a career expo, how to write a resume, how to interview, those types of tips are going to be pretty consistent across the board. But I did want to start off by giving you just a little bit of information about who Ferguson is, because I think it's important for you to kind of understand the industry perspective that I come from, my organization. I've actually worked at Ferguson for about 5 years now. I started in supply chain, I worked in operations for a while, and now I'm in recruiting. So I've done a little bit of everything. But it actually is kind of an exciting opportunity for me to kind of move into a role like recruiting, where I can talk about some of those career advancement opportunities that I've had as well. So before we jump in too far, like I said, I want to spend like 5 minutes talking about Ferguson just so you have an understanding of who we are. For those of you that might be history buffs, I don't know if we have any of those in the room. I know I brought one with me today. He's sitting in the back over here. You're a history buff? Yeah, kind of interested in history. So believe it or not, I'm actually sharing 2 pictures up here. One is a little bit older than the other, believe it or not. I know the one gentleman up here is in like a velour suit, which is super classic. This gentleman up here was actually one of Ferguson's 3 founders. They actually got together over just over $100,000 and started 2 plumbing distribution companies. And they actually turned into the Ferguson that we know and love today. And that actually brings us to the building on the other side of the screen. Do you guys know what that building is? Yeah, so he said the Trade Center. It's actually the building that replaced the Twin Towers. Yeah, so the Freedom Tower. We actually have toilets, so you can have a toilet too. Perfect. Yeah, so it's the Freedom Tower, and believe it or not, Ferguson, this company that I work for, actually supplied a lot of the construction materials that went into this building. So really all of the materials that water will flow through, anything construction related, Ferguson actually supplied in this iconic building. And so people are sometimes surprised that they've never heard of this company that supplies materials in such large, capacities. And it's really because Ferguson sells a lot of products business to business, so B2B sales. 70% of what we do is business to business, so we're marketing to other businesses. So that's why their name recognition isn't always there. But we truly have provided the materials from the ground up. That's kind of the saying we have at Ferguson. Starting at the very bottom where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live. Do you guys know where that is? The sewer, yeah, absolutely. So the big diameter pipe that goes under the ground, it's where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live. So that's our waterworks division. And literally going all the way up to the top of the building, we can talk about HVAC. So you guys know what HVAC stands for? You want to guess?
It's your air conditioning and heating system.
Yeah, so it's the HVAC. It's heating, ventilation, air conditioning, absolutely. So what keeps your building warm in the winter, cool in the summer? Definitely important in this part of the state, being in Utah, absolutely. And so keep in mind, Ferguson is distributing or selling all of these types of materials to different types of customers across the board. So I want to share a quick 3-minute video to give you a little bit of insight, and then we're going to jump into our career search tips and tricks today, okay?
We are Ferguson, the world's leading specialist distributor of plumbing and heating products. Our businesses hold leading market positions in the USA, UK, and Canada. These are large and highly fragmented markets with tremendous opportunities for growth. Our 33,000 associates are driven by a relentless focus on the customer, building lasting relationships, providing expert knowledge and advice, meeting the needs of our 1 million customers. In an ever-changing and competitive world, our customers need to do business 24/7. We invest constantly in leading technology to stay ahead of the competition. Today, Ferguson is already one of the largest e-tailers in the USA, with 44,000 suppliers, 22 distribution centers, 6,100 fleet vehicles, 2,310 branches worldwide. Our omni-channel approach and unrivaled scale means our customers can access knowledgeable advice, the right products, wherever and whenever they need them. The majority of our business is in keeping existing buildings running. Repairs, maintenance, and improvements today represent 2/3 of our sales. Our specialist products and services are used in almost every stage of commercial, residential, industrial, and municipal development today. From the ground up, we keep water flowing with products that are essential to water and wastewater systems required to support economic growth and development. We supply the pipes, valves, and fittings that support a wide variety of industrial processes with broad end market exposure, including manufacturing, chemicals, mining, and oil and gas. We provide advice and solutions for every plumbing project, large or small. Our plumbing and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning businesses help maintain efficient and comfortable living and working environments for millions of people. Our experts strive to find the best combination of services to help our customers save time and money. We ensure buildings stay safe with a vast supply of fire protection products with industry-leading fabrication quality. Our facility supply business works with facilities managers to keep commercial buildings running. And we apply our scale and distribution expertise to supply home improvement products to millions of consumers, whether they're buying online or direct from our showroom network. Our commitment to the best associates in the industry, world-class customer service, superior scale, and a relentless investment in technology combine to deliver satisfied customers, rewarding careers for our associates, and great returns for our shareholders. We are Ferguson, from the ground up.
Perfect. So I just wanted to share that quick video. I think it highlights a little bit about our organization, again, giving you a little bit of a perspective where I come from as a recruiter. So let's dive into our topic today, talking all about your career search. Is this something that you guys have been thinking about yourself? Maybe new in the process? A little undecided maybe even. So I think before we even get to the point of talking about a career expo or a career fair, it's important to start asking ourselves some other questions before we even get to that point to kind of start prepping ourselves for really working or navigating an event like that. So does anybody ever feel like this about getting a job after school? It's just super easy, right? You just go out there and a job falls off a tree and kind of just falls in your lap and you get hired, right? Don't we all wish it was a little bit easy like that? It'd be fantastic if it was that easy. There are ways to make it easier than what it seems, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So finding some of those tips and tricks that employers are using to seek out students, and so then we can kind of meet in the middle and find places to connect you with those career opportunities as well. So there's 3 questions I really want you to think about when you're starting to think, what do I want to do when I graduate? Because we all came to school to get a job, right, after we graduate? Most of us, yeah? I know some of us did anyways, probably, or we were just undecided what to do after high school, so we went to school. That's important too. So the first question I want you to start asking yourself is, what specifically are you looking for in a company? So have any of you sitting in the room started thinking about what kind of company you might be interested in working for? Some of the qualities or characteristics that that company has? Any of you thought about that? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want a company that will provide a lot of opportunity for me to grow and learn and really get somewhere in my career.
Yeah, so she said she wants a company that provides a lot of advancement opportunity, room to grow, so she can kind of move throughout her career. That's a really important one as well. So it'd probably be important for you to find a company that has, some of those similar qualities and traits, absolutely. So the second question I want you to think about is, what are your expectations and objectives in a career? So what are you hoping to get out of your career? Not just today, but maybe even 5 to 10 years from today. And then the third question I want you to think about is specifically, what do you want for a career? So thinking about what you're studying in school actually might help you start thinking about what career might align with that. So what are you guys studying in school? So what do you want to do with your career? Have you thought about that? Any specific goals?
I want to advise companies on how to use their investments.
You want to advise companies on investments? Yeah, what's your degree in?
Finance.
Perfect, she has a finance degree, so that aligns perfectly. Have you always wanted to do that, or is that something you've recently come about thinking?
I like finance.
Yeah.
But this is what I
Perfect. She said she's always liked finance, but this is probably kind of what she's really looking to do now. So keep in mind, there's no right or wrong answer to any of these questions. That's a great thing about finding your career, is it's your career search. So it may be very different than the person sitting next to you or the person that is in your class with you as well. But these are all things to start thinking about, which will actually help you kind of tailor down your approach to attending a career fair specifically. And then thinking about some of those specific company characteristics. So we highlighted just a couple of them. You actually mentioned advancement opportunities. So start thinking about, what do you want the company that you work for to look like in terms of their characteristics, in terms of size, scope? Do you want a large-scale company, a small local company? Do you want to work for a startup? Do you want to work for a company that you have a lot of independence? Do you want to work for a company that you have a lot of teamwork? So out of all of these characteristics that I have up here, I know there's a lot of them. Are any of these ones that stand out to you guys? I know we hit on advancement opportunities already. That's a big one for sure. What other ones kind of stand out to you guys? Management styles, why is that?
Because I feel like in a similar work field, it depends on who's managing you and who's your leader.
Yeah,
And that kind of leader or manager is going to either fit with you or not, because some leaders are better than others, but only for different groups of people.
sure.
Some people are better if they have more time or individuality, like where they can grow themselves.
Sure,
Some
absolutely.
are better with teams, or some are better influenced one way.
Absolutely. So she said management styles. Really, it's important because different managers fit different roles better. And so it's important that you're aligning yourself with a manager that actually fits the role specifically. So that's what she was talking about with management styles. Are there any other ones that kind of stand out to us? That are big highlights, ones that we've thought about or really kind of fit what we're hoping to do?
I think
Anybody else?
corporate philosophy,
Corporate philosophies?
management style, and the culture.
And culture as well. Yeah, what about corporate philosophies or culture kind of stands out to you?
Well, it's the reason for their existence.
The reason for their existence, absolutely. So thinking about those things from a company's perspective, it's important for you, if you want to feel like you're a collective part of a company, to find a company that has similar qualities and values that you have in your own life. So when you're looking for positions, don't just look at the position you're interviewing for or that you're seeking out. Also make sure the company kind of aligns with the things that you're looking to get out of your career as well. Again, no right or wrong answer to any of these, but it's important things for you to start thinking about to make sure when you are actively seeking out a company that company's ideals, culture, morals, values align with the things that you're looking to get out of your career as well. So then where do we start looking? So the Career Expo is going to be a great opportunity on Friday for you guys to start looking as well, but there are other resources you can also take advantage of in the meantime. So things like networking, utilizing your friends and family, going to job boards. Do you guys look at online job boards at all? Do you utilize those yet? A little bit? Yeah? On Handshake? Yep. That's a huge one. Handshake is huge. More and more schools across the country are using Handshake, so more and more employers are using Handshake as well. There is no golden ticket answer. So there is no one place that's going to be the best place for you to find a career. But taking advantage of all of the opportunities to kind of do some job searching will actually help kind of broaden your scope for positions that will be available to you. And again, I want to point out the Campus Career Center. I know we talked about that earlier today or earlier in the presentation, but take advantage of your Campus Career Center when you're in school, because this is the best time to really utilize their resources. You have people like Mary Beth here that want the best for you when you graduate. She wants to align you with that perfect company, that perfect role for you specifically. So take advantage of the things that they're providing as well, like resume critiques, mock interviews, those types of things. So let's talk about 3 primary social media tools that I really want you to take advantage of first and foremost. Do you guys use LinkedIn? Yeah, raise your hand if you LinkedIn. Okay, we've got 100% of the people in the room use LinkedIn. That's fantastic. Have you all been on LinkedIn for quite a while now? Relatively new, maybe a couple years. So what is LinkedIn then? Have you guys thought about what is it? It's Facebook for business. That is a great way of describing it. So I actually shared a screenshot of my LinkedIn profile. If you actually connect with me on LinkedIn, that is not my headshot anymore, so don't look for that headshot. I've got an updated one since then. But yeah, it's basically your resume on social media, right? So it's an opportunity for you to share everything that would be on your resume, but on a social media platform. Now, keep in mind the people using LinkedIn are using it for professional purposes. So people aren't posting their spring break party pics on social media, on LinkedIn for sure. But employers that you connect with will share a lot of very applicable information on social media or on LinkedIn. So it's an important place for you to connect with other business professionals, learn more about their companies. Again, you might learn something about the company characteristics by utilizing LinkedIn as well. Keep in mind, make sure your headshot on LinkedIn is a business professional headshot, because that's definitely one place that we want to take advantage of that as well. So I also want to point out Indeed. Do you guys use Indeed? Or have you heard of Indeed even? Got a couple head nods? Yeah. So Indeed is like the newest job search tool that exists. It used to be Career Builder and Monster. They all have existed. They still do. Indeed's just kind of the big one right now. So there's a couple ways you can actually utilize Indeed as a student or as a job seeker. So first and foremost, it kind of works like a search engine. So you search for what type of position you're looking for and where you're looking. So you could say, I'm looking in Logan, Utah, or you could say I'm looking in just the state of Utah, or I'm looking nationwide in the United States. You can make it as broad or as specific as you want. And by doing that, you can even filter it down even more than that. Indeed has a lot of advanced filters you can utilize to kind of search and narrow down the specific type of position you're looking for. But on the flip side, the side that most people don't know about Indeed is you can actually create a profile on Indeed. Did you guys know that? No? Nobody did? So believe it or not, you can actually set up an account. It probably takes at most 2 or 3 minutes. You guys are super tech savvy. I know how that works today. But anyways, you can create an account, upload your resume, and by doing something as simple as that, you are now making yourself available to every single employer that's using Indeed. Because as an employer, I actually go on Indeed and I do resume searches when I have openings. So if I have an inside sales opening in Salt Lake City, Utah, I can search for those keywords, and your resume may come across if that's also what you're potentially looking for, or if your resume fits that criteria. So keep in mind, by just having your resume uploaded on Indeed and staying somewhat active, that's just another way for you to open yourself up to opportunities with employers. And they can send you messages and ask if you're interested and kind of start a conversation that way. And then last but not least is WayUp. This is kind of a new one. Have you guys heard of WayUp? No, most people haven't. That's okay. So WayUp is a job board targeted specifically for college students and entry-level associates. So people that are looking for, positions that don't take a lot of experience. So the great thing about that is the only employers that are using WayUp are the employers that are looking for people that don't have a lot of experience or are getting ready to graduate. So it's actually kind of this like matchmaking service. It works out really, really well. The cool thing about it too is it's made to look super contemporary. There's a lot of useful resume tips and interviewing tips, those types of things. And when you actually upload your resume, you create a little account, you upload your resume, you get to share some fun facts with an employer too. So it works almost like a little bit of a social media page at the same time as a job board. But again, targeted to entry-level types of roles, so take advantage of WayUp as well. So any questions on those before we move on? No questions, perfect. So let's talk about career fairs, because this is going to be our big topic of the day. Have any of you attended a career fair before that's in the room? We've got a couple. We got like 1.5 going on over here. Perfect. Do you mind telling me a little bit about your first career fair experience? I'm going to come stand by you, so hopefully people can hear.
I don't remember, I guess, the first one. I've been to a few. The last one that I went to it's can be kind of awkward.
It can be a little awkward, yeah.
Especially if you talk to a company and then it turns out that they're not a good fit. And it's kind of
Yeah.
just
And then you're like, how do I get out of the conversation? Yeah, so she said it can be a little bit awkward, especially if you start talking to a company that may not have an opportunity that actually kind of aligns what you're looking for. And trust me, I get it, okay? I'm a recruiter, believe it or not. We already resolved that. But I was a terrible career fair attendee when I was in school. So I actually graduated from South Dakota State University. Any South Dakota people? Never is. Never seen one on campus yet. Graduated from South Dakota State University. And I just wanted to share my first career fair experience, because when I tell people I'm a recruiter, yes, but trust me, I've been in your shoes. I have totally been in your shoes. So I actually went to my first career fair when I was a sophomore on campus. And I went because I was told to go as part of one of my classes. So it was mandatory that you actually showed up at a career fair. And so I was all dressed up. I thought I was looking good. I had my resume portfolio with me. I don't think my resume was nearly as good as it should have been, but we were working with it as a sophomore. And anyways, so our career fair actually took place in this big conference building, and there were a lot of glass windows so you can kind of see in before you actually got there. And I kind of walked towards the building. I could see so many people inside. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to do. Nobody prepared me for this. What do I do when I get inside? You know, who do I talk to? Who do I not talk to? I don't know what to say. How do you start a conversation with an employer? I don't know. And so I was walking towards the door, and I got to the door, and I could see more and more people because you're getting closer, and there's more people. And this is what I did. I left. I didn't even go in the building. And I'm standing here, I'm a recruiter today, okay, and I go to career fairs as part of my job. And so when I say I get it, career fairs can be a little bit intimidating, a little bit awkward. Trust me, I get it. And that's one of my favorite parts of my job is talking to you about how to work a career fair from your perspective, because it's such a great opportunity. But it's not a great opportunity if you actually don't walk in the door. So we're going to talk about how to overcome some of that fear. So did your career fair kind of look something like this maybe? A little bit overwhelming. If you've never been to a career fair, this is kind of what it can look like. A lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of business professionals, some people in polos, lots of banners, there's swag on the table. And so if there's that much going on, what's the point of going to a career fair? Why do we go? Because it's awkward? So we like to put ourselves in awkward situations? Why do you guys think we should go to a career fair? To network. That's important, right? It's an important part of finding a job. We talked about networking earlier, absolutely. Why else would we go to a career fair?
Like you said earlier, I feel like it's important to see if they're going to be a good fit. I feel like there's
Yeah.
only so much research I can do online about a company. I feel
Absolutely.
Like it helps if I talk to that person that's recruiting.
Right. So she said there's only so much you can find out about a company online. So it's actually nice to be able to physically talk to somebody from that company, find out a little bit more, maybe ask them specific questions that you can't really necessarily find the answer to online, because you can get the history of a company online, you can find out what they're hiring for, but sometimes it's nice to get a feel for the company, right? So those people standing at that career fair booth, they work for that company. And a really great indication very early on is if you feel comfortable talking to those people, that might be a pretty good indication of their culture. That might be somebody you could potentially see yourself working next to. And it'd be really surprising how different companies, and you can get such a good glimpse of that very early on, even at something as simple as a career fair. So I actually like to say there's 3 main points to attend a career fair. It's all exploratory, okay? So we want to explore the types of companies that are out there, explore the type of industries that are out there, and explore the type of career paths that exist, even if it's not quite what we were thinking when we first approached that company. So for your example, you actually have something specific in finance you're hoping to do. So you kind of have it narrowed down. So it really helps as well for students that aren't quite sure what they want to do. So they can see what exists. You know, is there something out there that makes the most sense for me? Is there an industry that I feel like I fit the best with? And a career fair gives you the opportunity to do that. You don't need to know anything about the companies at a career fair, but it's your job to find out who they are, see what they have to offer, and see if that's something that kind of intrigues you or makes you want to get a little bit more information from that company. But they can be a little intimidating, I get that. So there's a couple things we can do to kind of prepare ourselves before we walk into the door, so you don't do what I did and turn around and walk the other way and then, you know, just not even go in at all. So first and foremost, make sure you're researching a little bit on the companies that are going to be there. So you don't need to know everything about every single company that's going to be in attendance. But it's nice to at least know who's going to be there so you can kind of prepare yourself. So typically at most career fairs, just like the Career Expo on Friday, you can actually get a list of all the employers that will be in attendance ahead of time. Get that list, because that's going to give you a really good idea of how big the career fair will be, because you'll see how many companies are on the list. Do you know how many companies you have on your list? 60 companies. Do you guys think you can hit 60 companies in the amount of time you're going to spend at the Career Expo? Can you talk to 60 companies? Absolutely not. Is that overwhelming? Are you going to forget after the first 5 who you even talked to at that point? Potentially. Yeah, absolutely. So get the list, do a little bit of looking at who's going to be there, and prioritize the companies that you for sure want to talk to. So you're interested in finance, find those finance companies that you think might be the best fit for you. Do some prioritizing, because then that way, depending on how much time you have to spend at the Career Expo, you can make sure you're hitting those companies that are most important for you. Okay, but I would also recommend there are going to be 60 companies there. So give yourself a little bit of extra time if you can to just hit a couple of those other random companies, okay? There are going to be companies that are just like Ferguson that if not for hearing me talk today, you probably would have been like, I have no idea who that is. I'm going to keep on walking, right? There are going to be a lot of companies that are like that too, which actually might have some really good opportunities, but unless you're willing to, step in and maybe get a little awkward with them and ask about it, you may not know if they might have your dream job. So prioritize, make a list, but also give yourself a little bit extra time to stop by a couple other companies that you might not be as familiar with as well, okay? Any questions about that? Prioritizing, researching, getting prepared ahead of time is a big piece. And then last but not least, have some confidence. Is that the hardest part? That was the hardest part for me. I didn't make it in the door, so if you guys make it in the door, you're doing better than I did. So there's a couple things I can tell you that'll help you, I think, have some confidence going into a career fair, okay? We go to a lot of career fairs as a company for Ferguson, okay? I don't go to all of them as an employer, but our company goes to a lot of them across the country. And one of the things I like to tell students in all 50 states is, believe it or not, the company is at the career fair because they want to hire you, okay? We don't just come to a career fair because we had nothing else to do that day, okay? All of our emails are checked, all of our interviews are done. We come to the career fair because we have needs to fill, and we're really hoping there are students at this school that want to work for our company and want to work in those positions. So keep in mind, those employers want to talk to you just as badly as you are hoping to get a job and want to talk to them. So keep that in mind. It does truly go both ways, okay? When I'm standing at a career fair booth, I'm really hoping I'm going to find my, all of the people that I really am hoping to fill positions for from Utah State, because at the end of the day, that's my job as a recruiter, and that's the same job that everybody else has standing out there, those career fair booths. So try to keep that in mind, and it should give you a little bit of a boost of confidence. Those people are there to truly talk to you. They want to talk to you as well. So there's a couple other things you can keep in mind, especially when you're approaching that first company. I think the first one's always the hardest. Would you agree? Kind of like, what do I say? I'm not really sure. So there's a really great way you can kind of start a conversation at a career fair or at a career expo without having to really work really hard at it. But I want you to keep in mind, first and foremost, when we approach an employer, we want to make good eye contact. So eye contact is important. We're making a good first impression. And we also want to have a business professional handshake. Do you guys all have a business professional handshake? Do we know? So we're going to practice. Do you want to come up here and volunteer? Can I have a volunteer come help me? I promise I won't embarrass you. Come on up. We're going to actually make everybody in the audience participate too. So if you just want to stand right here, and you can face the audience. All right, everybody in the audience, we're going to do audience participation. So you're going to raise your right hand and make an L. Make a firm L. Yep, perfect. All right, and so you're going to turn to your neighbor, and you're going to lock thumbs, and 2 or 3 firm pumps, and let go. Okay? So try it with your neighbor. Hi, I'm Liz. Nice to meet you. Perfect. Hi. Liz, nice to meet you. Perfect. Hopefully we're not seeing that far apart at the career fair. Perfect.
Still need me?
Yeah, you can stay right here. Absolutely. So a business professional handshake is a really good way to have a good first impression, okay? The way to not make a good first impression, because this happens at every career fair to me, please do not do this. Hey, so nice to meet you. What does that feel like?
Very uncomfortable.
She said it's a little uncomfortable. Yeah, okay? And I can actually say this because I'm female, but stereotypically, ladies, this is the one I get from females a lot of times, okay? We are business professional women in the business professional world, so we need to have a business professional handshake. When I get this, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking they're going to meet a director or an executive someday at my company, and they're going to shake their hand like this, and that director's going to be like, someone needs to work with them on their handshake, and who hired that person, and they never told them that their handshake was awful. So keep in mind, it shows confidence. But on the flip side, gentlemen, you do not need to prove your macho-ness by squishing my hand either, okay? So firm but not squishing, and none of these two, okay? The other one I get a lot is actually this one. Hey, I'm so happy to meet you. My name is Liz. I actually really want to work for your company. What can you tell me about it?
Just keep going.
Yeah, you just keep going. All right, perfect. You are done. You can sit down. We've embarrassed you enough. Perfect. So believe it or not, people get so nervous sometimes they'll forget to let go. Like they just keep shaking your hand and you're kind of like, okay, we're just going to have a conversation and keep shaking. So if you think you're going to get a little bit nervous, that's okay. You literally can count to 2 or 3 and just know to let go. It's as simple fix as that. So a business professional handshake is a great way to have a first impression, and take advantage of it because it's going to make you stand out from a lot of other people, believe it or not. And so after we've got all of those things completed, the way you're going to introduce yourself to a business professional standing at a career fair booth or at a career expo booth, I want you to tell me 4 groundbreaking things. You guys ready? These are groundbreaking. These are the 4 things I want you to tell me when you walk up to that Career Expo booth. Here we go. We're going to call it your personal commercial. I want to know your name. I want to know when you're graduating, what your major is, and what do you want to do with your life? Groundbreaking, right? Hi, my name is Liz McCloud. I am a marketing major here at Utah State. I'm really interested in working with either customers or digital marketing. Haven't really decided, but does your company have anything that would align with that? Groundbreaking. But guess what? If you can tell me those 4 things, which you should know all 4 of those because they're about you. I literally just made that up on the spot, and I was able to do it. If you can tell an employer those 4 things, you're kind of off the hook. Because what the employer is going to say is, okay, I know what I'm hiring for. I know what my industry is. So let me talk about whatever position I have that best aligns with what you're looking to do. And keep in mind, your career interests can be as vague or as specific as you want. So you could use something like, I want to work with customers, kind of like I did. Or if you're super specific, she knows exactly what she wants to do in finance. You can let them know that too. So keep it as vague or specific as you want. You can kind of tailor it to the company too if you know a little bit about the company. 4 groundbreaking things. Any questions on that? It'll get you off the hook. The employer will have the conversation with you, and then it's super easy from there. So let's think about this scenario. Do any of you have a roommate? Yeah, okay. So let's say after you went to the career fair, you actually went back home. Your roommate was sitting on the couch because your roommate didn't go to the Career Expo. They should have, but they didn't. And you walk in the door and your roommate says, hey, how'd the Career Expo go? And you say, it was fantastic. I actually talked to this Ferguson recruiter. She was so great. I love the company, want to work for them. And your roommate says, that's so cool. I probably should have gone to the Career Expo. But if you want to work for Ferguson, what do you do now? And you say, you know what? That's a really great question. I forgot to ask. That's the one thing that everybody forgets to do at a career fair. Ask what the next steps are. If that's a company that you're really interested in, make sure you find out what the next steps are. That's important. Believe it or not, companies don't try to make it complicated, but I know it can be complicated because every company does something a little bit different. So what we actually do on campus is we use an iPad. We have you enter your basic contact information. It sends you an electronic brochure, so it's waiting for you when you get back to your room. It'll talk you through the next steps. But some companies will hand you a business card, some you'll get a flyer, some will maybe have you apply on the spot, maybe some will ask for your resume and they'll reach out to you directly. Find out what those next steps are. Okay, we don't try to make it complicated, but every company is a little bit different. So if it's a company you're truly interested in, or potentially will be interested in after you do some research, make sure you find out what the next steps are, because it could be a lot of different things. So we would hate for you to miss out on that perfect opportunity if you forget to ask what the next steps are. And then last but not least, you can close your conversation with a big old thank you, because that goes a long way from an employer's perspective as well. So moving along to your resume, because I know a resume is an important part of attending a Career Expo. Does everybody have their resume ready to go for Friday? It's looking perfect and polished. Mary Beth actually probably checked every single one of your resumes so far, right? She's critiqued them. They're looking beautiful. So I actually have a couple tips. We're not going to spend a lot of time on resumes. We're actually going to do a resume workshop a little bit later this week. But I want to give you a couple basic tips to keep in mind with your resume. Other than, don't make it look like this I'm good at stuff resume. Okay, that's what it's designed for, but please don't make it just look like that. So in terms of the format of your resume, how long should your resume be? 1 page, please. Believe it or not, I've been not a recruiter for 5 years, but I've worked with Ferguson for over 5 years now, and I can still get my resume on 1 page. So you can actually have quite a bit of work experience and be in school and still get your resume on 1 page. And the reason we like a 1-page resume from a recruiting perspective is we don't actually spend that much time looking at your resume, believe it or not, okay? I know that probably hurts your ears to hear, and it's probably really sad to hear because I know you guys spend so much time on them, and I spent so much time on mine too. But because we get so many resumes, we flip through them pretty quickly. I mean, at Ferguson, we probably look 6 to 10 seconds at a resume, and it's because there's specific things we're looking for in a resume, okay? We're pulling out the pieces that we're most interested in, which for us is your education. Did you complete school, or are you in the process? What's your degree in? And what other stuff have you done when you're on campus, okay? So each company is gonna look for individual pieces on your resume, but they're not gonna spend a ton of time. So your resume should really highlight things. It's not an autobiography. So you should be able to get your resume down to 1 page unless you have an exorbitant amount of experience, okay? And then we can work on it. But definitely don't make it 1 page front and back, because I'm likely gonna miss the back side of it. And you might have some important information on the back of it. So keep in mind, especially at this point in your career, 1 page is definitely sufficient. Now in terms of margins and font, all those types of things, There is no like super magic rule, but we want it to be legible, easy to read, and it'll be fairly easy alignment, okay? So whether that means all of your dates are in a row or you use bullet points to kind of highlight different things, stay away from paragraphs of text and make sure it's very easy on the eye to kind of pull out details. That's the biggest thing that all employers are gonna look for kind of across the board. And then last but not least, I would really love to see it in reverse chronological order in terms of your experience. Do you guys know what that is? Reverse chronological order. The most recent stuff first, absolutely. So if you've had multiple work positions, I want the most recent one, or the one you're doing today, towards the top, and then work backwards from there. Because it helps me see what you're doing today or what you've done most recently, which is probably the most applicable thing to what you're applying to as well, okay? And then let's talk a little bit about your contact information. And if you have more questions about your resume, we'll definitely talk about that after the presentation's over. So a couple things I like to point out with your contact information. First and foremost, with your address, I know a lot of people say different things about addresses on your resume. You don't have to put your full address so somebody can come like knock on your door. You don't need to do that. But it's really helpful, especially for companies like Ferguson who are nationwide, if you would actually put your city and state on there. And you can list your current and or your permanent city and state. And for somebody like me who's hiring for 50 states, if you put your city and state on there, it actually helps me determine they might be interested in working in Utah. Or, oh, I actually see they go to school in Utah, but they're actually from California. Maybe they're interested in working in California. So it just gives me something to think about as well. So keep in mind, sometimes that's beneficial, especially for larger scale companies as well. And in terms of your phone number, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about with your phone numbers. You guys all have a cell phone. I know that's the day and age. Okay, I've got mine attached to me most of the time. Is your voicemail set up on your cell phone? Yeah, maybe, not sure. If your voicemail is set up, is it a business professional voicemail greeting? And it could be that automated one, but I do want to make sure you're stating your name in your automated message. Because from an employer perspective, if I have to leave you a voicemail, that actually helps me to double check that I got the right person. So that's important. Okay, please do not leave your voicemail greeting when you're like on spring break. Probably not the best voicemail for an employer to get at this time in your career. And then last but not least, make sure your voicemail box does not get full. Because if you're one of those people that doesn't check your voicemail and you just kind of let somebody keep calling you until you actually answer the phone, your voicemail box will get full. And then what happens when an employer tries to reach out to you because they want to schedule a phone interview? Your voicemail box is full. We can't get a hold of you, okay? So we want to make it as easy as possible for an employer to connect with you, whether they choose to do that via email or phone. So make sure you're taking advantage of your voicemail because some of us as employers definitely still use the phone and we actually pick it up and we'll call you and leave you a voicemail. And then last but not least, with your email, please make sure your email that you're using is a business professional email, okay? Like leopardcat36@gmail.com. Probably not the best one that you want to use on your resume because it's really awkward for an employer to type in leopardcat63@gmail.com. So you can always default to using your school email address. That's a really great safe bet. As long as it's an email address that you're frequently checking, that's the one I would use. If you don't have a school email address that you frequently check, you always can default to your first dot, your last name at gmail.com. Something like that is absolutely perfect. Just make sure it's an email that you're checking frequently. So any questions briefly on contact information, anything with your resume before we kind of move on from there? Okay, perfect. So last but not least, I want to leave with some interviewing tips because I think just like career fairs, interviewing can be a little awkward, uncomfortable. Would you guys agree? Why is interviewing kind of awkward, or being interviewed, I guess we would say? Why is it awkward? You kind of shake your head, yeah.
I just hate talking about myself.
She hates talking about herself. Why do you hate talking about yourself?
I don't know. I just feel like it's awkward even though, like, they want to know about me.
Yeah.
I just hate doing it.
Yeah, she says, I think it's kind of awkward. Even though they're asking about me, it's just kind of weird to talk about yourself for half an hour, whatever the duration of the interview is. Why do you think it's a little weird? Yeah.
Or like when they ask a question, you know, they do that STAR method to help prepare you, but
Yep.
still I'm like, okay, well, what have I used in my life? Like, what is the best example to use
Yes.
them now? Like, I feel like sometimes I just stress way too much.
Yeah, so she actually brought up situational types of questions and how do I determine what's the best example to fit the types of questions they're asking? And that's a really valid point too. And believe it or not, I'm a recruiter. Again, we've all figured that out at this point. And I don't like to be interviewed, okay? I do this for a living and I interview a lot of people in my job and I don't like to be interviewed. And it's for the same reason you guys don't like to. It's because You're kind of walking into the unknown. You don't know what they're going to ask. You don't know if you're going to talk to somebody on the phone, or there are going to be 5 people listening in, but they don't tell you. Or you're going to walk in, it's going to be a panel interview. Did I not bring enough resumes? You just don't always know. And so I get why it can be a little bit intimidating. So we're going to give you a couple tips and tricks to kind of get through some of that interviewing awkwardness, nervousness, that type of thing. So first and foremost, let's talk about some to-dos in an interview setting. First and foremost, know something about the company. When you're talking about the Career Expo, it's completely acceptable to not know a lot about a company at a Career Expo. But by the time you get to an interview, you have to know something about the company. It kind of takes us full circle back to that company characteristic slide we talk about. Because why would you be interviewing if you don't know anything about them? What happens if they're a kind of company that you would be like, I would absolutely not want to work for that company? But you didn't do your research to find that out ahead of time. So the first question I ask everybody I interview is, tell me what you know about Ferguson. And the wrong answer is, not really sure, okay? That's not the best answer. Make sure you know something about the company. You don't have to be an expert. Know a couple things about the company. So for example, a company like Ferguson. Well, I actually know that you guys sell construction supplies. Liz actually talked about the fact that you sold some things in the Freedom Tower. I don't know a lot about construction supplies myself, but I know that's the industry you're in. So something as simple as that is completely fine, as long as you know something about the company, because it shows interest. It shows that you took the time to do a little bit of research as well. So with that being said, we want to relax and be honest. Relaxing is tough in an interview, isn't it? Keep in mind, we want this to be a two-way conversation in an interview, okay? I know a lot of times we get stuck in this trap where interviewing feels like it's a question and answer session, right? I ask the question, you answer, and then we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Interviewers actually want you to participate in the conversation, and more so than just answering those questions and waiting for the next one, okay? It's a two-way conversation at the end of the day. So the more you can kind of participate in the conversation, the more at ease you'll feel, because it feels more like a conversation at that point as well. And I also want you to be a little aggressive, okay? So I don't mean I want you to like come stomping in the door and be angry. That's not what I mean by being aggressive. I want you to be aggressive in the sense that if this is the right job for you or this is the right company for you, I want to know it, okay? It kind of helps me put the pieces together. So if you can come in and say, I absolutely know Ferguson is the right company for me because you guys value customer service just as much as I do. Or I absolutely know finance is the right position for me because, these were the things I studied in school and I really, really enjoyed that. If you kind of help the interviewer put those pieces together, it actually helps them start thinking like, oh, they've done their research. They know why they'd be a good fit for this role. And it helps me start thinking, oh, that actually does make sense. They could be a good fit for this role for those reasons. So if you want the position, you're truly interested in the company, don't be afraid to ask for it in that manner as well. So that's what I mean by be aggressive. Also, we want to ask good questions. So at the end of every interview, and if you guys have been interviewed before, typically an interview will ask you, what kind of questions do you have for me? Have you guys heard that before? What kind of questions have you had for your interview at the end before?
When might I know?
Yeah, what are the next steps? Yeah, what are the next steps? How long will it take to hear back? That's a great question. It is kind of a red flag for interviewers if you don't have any questions, okay? And the reason being is because either you're an expert about the company, which I know I'm not even a Ferguson expert, okay? I've been working there for 5 years now. I'm not an expert. So either you're an expert, or I almost wonder, do you just not have enough interest to have some questions? As terrible as that sounds, that's kind of what interviewers start thinking. So what can happen is interviewers can actually answer some of your questions throughout the interview without you actually asking. That happens. And if that happens, it's fine to say, actually, I had a question about, your advancement opportunities, but you actually already answered it for me, so that's okay to add at the end. But there's a question I like to share that you can use as a get out of jail free card if you cannot think of any other question. And you can ask any interviewer this question, and it's, tell me why you chose to work for your company. And the cool thing about that question is it actually will speak to the qualities and characteristics of that company, kind of taking us back full circle again. So does their answer align with what you would also hope to get out of the company? So it'll be a really great opportunity for you to kind of find out again, does this company, does this position make the most sense for me? So make sure you ask at least one good question. And then last but not least, again, take advantage of mock interviews, okay? I know the Career Center always promotes mock interviews. If you have the busiest schedule in the world and you cannot take advantage of mock interviews in person, Google interview questions and practice saying them out loud or answering them out loud, because hearing them in your head is a little bit different than actually verbalizing them out loud. So if anything, at least make sure you're practicing some out loud, whether it's with your roommate or just to yourself. It will make a big difference. And then last but not least, before we're done today, some things not to do in an interview setting, okay? First and foremost, the interviewer does not hold all the cards. And what I mean by that is, again, we want this to be a two-way conversation because at the end of the day, if you get an offer with that company, you have to know that you got all of your questions answered so you can confidently either accept or decline that offer. So it definitely should be a two-way conversation. Get those questions answered. Make sure you feel confident after ending that phone interview that you know what you need to know about that company and that position. Also, we don't want to lack examples. So this actually takes us to your point about being a little bit concerned about those situational questions you get. So one of those things I actually recommend about situational questions, first and foremost, do you guys know what a situational question is? What's a situational question since you brought it up?
So it's like they ask you, hey, have you ever been in a place where you had to use humility or where you had to deal with some sort of problem?
Yeah. Tell me about a time when you dealt with a problem. Tell me about a time that you had to work with a challenging coworker. How did you take on a leadership position in a specific, role or organization on campus? The reason we ask those questions is because you don't work for our company, but if you were in a similar situation at our company, we want to know how you'd react. But the cool thing about these types of examples that nobody else will tell you is if you have 3 or 4 really good examples prepared, so you can kind of think ahead of time through some good examples, if you have 3 or 4 of them prepared, you can pretty easily tweak those to fit a lot of different types of those questions. So think about some examples that might actually fit kind of the career path of interest. So you might have some more finance specific ones. If somebody's looking at a sales type of role, maybe it's a more customer service specific one, a leadership example, a coworker example. But have 3 or 4 really strong examples. Again, practice saying them out loud, and you'll find you can easily tweak a lot of those examples to answer a lot of different types of situational questions. We're not even going to talk about number 3 on the board because we all know this is a big no-no, right? Please do not be late to an interview. Really, really, really bad first impression to an interview. Please do not be late. It's good to be a little bit early. Make sure you're on time, ready to go. You're in a quiet environment. That's an important part as well. We also don't want to lack enthusiasm, okay? What if I would have walked into the presentation like this today? Here to talk about Ferguson. It's been actually a really long day. I was in California. What do you guys have questions about your career search? I hope you would have sent me to the coffee shop and said, let's try this again in 10 minutes after that caffeine kicks in, okay? It is good and important to show some enthusiasm in an interview setting because we want you to be excited about the opportunity, okay? If you applied and you got to the point of interviewing, you should likely be excited about that opportunity too. So show a little bit of enthusiasm. It's really important. Trust me, I'm going to be this enthusiastic when I interview people too. So if I can muster it up for you, definitely give me some of it back as well. And then my very last one, I have not shown you yet because this is the biggest one of them all. Please do not do this. So this has happened to me before at a career fair. Somebody will walk up to me. They won't even introduce themselves. And they'll say, how much money am I going to make at Ferguson? Excuse me, what? We're kind of on a first date here at the career fair and you're just jumping to marriage. I'm not at that point yet, okay? You haven't proposed. Let's get to the point of marriage before we start talking about that. Okay, and as funny as it sounds, people do that, and it is such a big red flag for interviewers because what we're thinking when you bring up money too early is they're only worried about a paycheck. They don't care about the culture, the quality, the benefits, the advancement opportunities, the fact that this is the perfect finance fit for me. All they care about is how much money they're going to make. And so it's a big red flag for interviewers and recruiters when you bring it up too early in the process. So especially when you're entry level, looking for your first full-time career opportunity, it's typically best to kind of default to the interviewer. They will bring it up when it makes most sense throughout the interview process, okay? I promise you'll never have to accept a job offer without knowing how much money you'll make. It'll be talked about at some point. But if you bring it up too early, it's a really big red flag, and I would hate for any of you to do that to yourselves, okay? Perfect. So with that being said, at the end of the day, this is your career search, so please try to enjoy the process. The best part about being in school is you have the opportunity to kind of explore all of these different types of companies, all of these different types of industries. And the best part about it is if you take the time to do it and pick the right one up front, guess what? You might not have to ever do it again. You could stay there for the next 40 years and be done. You might not have to do it ever again. So enjoy the process and make sure you're picking the right company that makes the most sense for you individually. So do you guys have any specific questions, since we're right at our time mark today, about career search tips and tricks, the Career Expo, interviewing, anything like that? Yes, ma'am.
So how do we create the conversation in the interview? I know you were talking about that, and I normally come with a few questions.
Yeah.
And those are thrown for the end. So how do you keep a conversation in the middle?
that is a great question. So she actually asked, if you want me to have a two-way conversation in an interview, how do I do that? And that's a really great question. So in my interviews, when I actually interview people, I encourage them to ask questions throughout the interview. So I'll actually tell them, if we get to a point in the interview that we're talking about something that kind of triggers a question that you had, please feel free to ask it as we go, because we can go down that road and talk about those things as well. Because I would rather it be a two-way conversation as well, instead of you just asking a bunch of questions at the end, because it makes more sense. So definitely feel free to jump in an interview setting when it feels comfortable to do so, and ask some of those questions, because then it'll make it more of a two-way conversation. It'll feel that way as well. Good question, though. Perfect. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I kind of what I was talking about earlier, like the escape plan. If it just ends up not being what
Yes.
to say goodbye, I guess.
Yeah, so she wants to know, what do you use as an escape plan? If you walk up to a company and you're like, whoa, never mind, either that's not what I was hoping for, or they don't have an opportunity that really makes sense for me, that's okay. You introduce yourself, you give me your little personal commercial. What are you interested in doing? Let's use it. She wants to be in business intelligence. Very awesome. Perfect. So she wants to be in business intelligence. So if you walk up to a company that only has roles in credit, let's say, that could happen. The most that's going to happen is they're going to say, actually, we're hiring for entry-level credit associates. You're going to say, actually, I really have an interest in business intelligence. So I appreciate learning more about your company, and let me know if anything else ever comes up in the field I'm interested in. As simple as that. Because the employer is thinking the same thing. I'm not going to waste your time if I don't have something specific to what you're looking for. So it kind of goes both ways. But as simple as telling them, thank you, I appreciate the opportunity to learn more about your company. Let me know if anything comes up in the future. That's a really great way to handle that situation. Anybody else? Anything else you'd like to add, Mary Beth?
No, let's give Liz a hand.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.